put on my ubiquitous shoes, which seem to be the only shoes I wear these days. These lacrosse mud boots. They are fantastic. So we have been recently watching some friends' dogs, and one of them has a propensity for chasing cats. Well, we have a cat. I should say we had a cat. That cat is no longer around because the dog chased it, and so it's gotten so afraid, I guess, that it's decided not to come back. Well, anyway, it's a rainy day here in April. All the plants and about 90% of the garden is set. Pond is still very full. In fact, it's still overflowing. Here are the chickens. Hey guys. Here are the Muscovies. The fence isn't on, but let's take a look at these guys. Hi guys. Did you find yourself a new friend? That's Ilford, and that's Dora. You be nice to Dora. Inside here, we have a Muscovy sitting on the nest, and she doesn't want me talking to her. She's a bit protective. Hey, there she is. It's all right. We're not here to take your eggs. We're just checking you out. Yeah, here we have chickens and ducks who cohabitate. They share the same food. Chickens have a little slightly different diet. They tend to eat a bit more of the oyster shells than the ducks. But since they're both laying right now, I can in fact feed them pretty much the exact same recipe. And my egg production is very high at the moment. I have 8 hens and 5 ducks, 2 males, 2 drakes, and 5 ducks. And I'm getting about 3 to 4 duck eggs per day on average. And oh boy, I don't know, 6 chicken eggs on average. So it's a pretty good production at this time of year. More eggs than we can eat. Our neighbors really like duck eggs. Oh, I wanted to show you guys this. This is actually a black locust. They have already leafed out for the season. And this tree was planted last year, and it put on quite a bit of size. I'd say it doubled its width, its trunk width in diameter last season. We'll see. It's here on the edge of the pond. Oh, looks like somebody found a mushroom. See these little slugs right here? They are wreaking havoc on my garden. I think it's slugs anyway. Maybe you guys will know more than I do. Let's walk up there and take a look. But yeah, it's a rainy day. So yeah, let's go take a look at the garden. So I planted most of this about 4 weeks ago, but it's still relatively cold. It's in the 50s, mid 50s today. And the last 3 days has been really windy. But I think the soil is starting to warm up somewhat because we're starting to get a few more plants coming up. So here's the garden. Up here at the top, we're all brassicas. We can go look at that in a minute. There are still brassicas up there. I have cabbage and cauliflower. I've got some chard on the ground, but I think the slugs are honestly eating it before, like as it comes up. The next row is more chard and beets. There's very little activity here. And like here, for example, here's a little beet that's coming up. I'm hopeful that they're not being eaten as they surface, but it could be that they're just getting eaten, gobbled up. Because here, for example, let me show you this. This is what's making me wonder this. I'll show you two things. One, I'm going to show you what's happening to the brassicas, right? So if you look at these, right, they're just eating, something's eating the leaves off, right? Look at this. Oh, it's just wreaking havoc. I mean, look at these little guys. There's like nothing left. As much as I hate to do it, I put Sluggo around here. I mean, look at this. There's like nothing left. Poor things. They're just devouring them. Whatever it is. I don't know. I think it's slugs, but I see no slugs. I come up here at night, I come up here in the morning, and there's no slugs. What I do see on occasion, but nothing quite extensive enough, I don't know, it's nothing, like there's not vast numbers of these guys, but those little roly-polies, little gray bugs that roll up, you know, when you touch them. I don't know, do those eat brassicas? It's all news to me. Gosh, growing food is so hard. Sometimes it's so frustrating. But anyway, you can see I've got some pole beans up there in the back that are popping up. But the other thing I wanted to show you was this lettuce bed, right? So if we come down here, you can see some lettuce popping up, right? Like there's some lettuce. It's really sporadic. There's not a lot of it. And if we look back this way, that was all lettuce too, but it's gone. Like something has eaten that lettuce. I honestly don't know. So, like I said, it's a little frustrating and discouraging when you try to grow food and then you fail. So I'm looking for any advice that you might have. Here are the bush beans. Bush beans are growing in 2 rows right across here. I put in an automatic timer this year just so that I can be really consistent with my watering. I'm not really watering yet, of course, because it's still raining. But what I bought was, here, I'll show you my setup. So I put in this field hydrant, which is watering from the pond, which then goes into a filter. I can show you that. All right, so let's turn this off. Let's take the pressure out of it, and I'll show you how this works. So I've got a pump in the pond. And then inside here, I have this 155 mesh screen filter. These are about $6 each, but they're a metal mesh, so I can clean them out with a toothbrush and some running water. That screws onto this guy, and that filters the pond water, right? The next thing in line is a 10 psi pressure reducer to a timer, which I set up to water for whatever the duration is. That then goes into a 1/2 inch main line. That main line comes over here to an elbow, and then the main line runs all the way up to the top of the raised beds, and then intersecting each main line is one of these valves which plugs in. It's a little 1/4 inch hole to what's called drip tape. This is drip tape. The holes point up, and then you run this the full length of the bed. And these are 30-inch beds, so I can get away with 2 per bed. That's it. That's the setup. So when you're watering, you basically just leave this in the on position. One very important little piece of information. This timer is not designed to be under constant pressure, right? From here. So what that means is you have to make sure that you put the pressure reducer ahead of the timer. So the timer comes after the reducer, making sure that it's only 10 psi that's sitting on the valve of this timing unit. And then you're set. Okay. So yes, I'm also trying something new this season. I'm not going to mow the grass. I used to mow it about 3 or 4 times a season. It's just a lot of grass to mow. And I'm going to experiment with something this year and try not, I might mow it with I'll scythe it here once in a while. But at the end of the day, I cringe when I mow this yard because of all the habitat that I'm destroying. I mean, I come across here, and as I'm looking through this grass, I mean, I come across like just snakes and frogs and these nesting birds that build little nests on the ground, right? And when I mow the grass, I have to get out, pick the little nests up, remove them, and then the birds never come back. It's a pretty sad state of affairs. So I'm going to try doing this and see what happens. It could be, if you guys have any advice or have heard of this before, what happens here by leaving long, like quack grass, just letting it go to seed, let me know. I'd be curious about the downside to doing this. But for now, I see the upside as being habitat and a lack of, I don't have to do as much work. So anyway, this is a gumi here, planted towards the top. Right down here, I've also got some vetch that's growing around the base of it. You got to watch out for this stuff. It tends to climb up and suffocate everything, but I like it because it's a perennial that's a legume that fixes nitrogen. So this whole berm here is planted with vetch, actually. So it's pretty nice. It's the first to come up. When it dies, it all just lays down flat and it reseeds itself. It's purple flower. The bees love it. Also I have blueberries on this berm that I'm not watering. Yes, I realize that's probably not going to produce any fruit. They probably won't survive, actually, unless I water them. I don't know. I'm all pretty new to this stuff, quite frankly. I don't know much about blueberries other than they like acidic soil. So, and there's plenty of acidic soil here because it's hugel culture. So each of these berms has a bunch of pine logs sitting underneath them, and then I put pine shavings on top. This is it's a weed, but it's a member of the nettle family. This is called red nettle. You can actually make tea from this. You just pick these flowers off. I mince it up really fine, and then I steep it for about 10 minutes. The kids and I like to drink it, but drink it in small quantities. That's my advice. It's a diuretic, and yes, it could get the best of you. Here, where you see all this clover that I've planted, this is all strawberry clover. Strawberry fields? No, strawberry clover. This is where the excavator ran up and down in the pond restoration project. So I'm just kind of reseeding this area and trying to get it to grow. Here's one of the swales. As you can see, it's empty. It's still very wet, but it's very empty. This top one dries out first, but underneath this, kind of laying down subsurface, there's this nice disc of water that gets stored beneath this berm, and then I've got these trees that are all planted kind of along this well-watered section. So anyway, rainy day, and I'm just getting caught up on some work stuff and trying to prepare for a big road trip that we're taking in about 3 weeks' time. That's it.